So my paper is about, my here keynote address is about digital Silk Road, a game changer or a threat. Now, digital Silk Road is basically the digital wing of the Belt and Silk, of the Belt and Road Initiative. And the fact of the matter is, we all talked about the Belt and Road Initiative multiple times, but the digitized part of it, the digital wing of it, has never been mentioned because that's something that's still very recent in the memory of international business. So I'll just move on and I'll definitely talk about it here. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the digital Silk Road, what that is essentially, and how it became part of the, say, overwhelming Belt and Road Initiative, how that happened. The first thing is the digital Silk Road was first mentioned, albeit very, very generally, very, very casually, back in 2015, July 2015, as a part of multilateral cooperation with China to the business community and governments at the China and at the China and also the European Union, Digital Cooperation Forum. So back in July 2015, the first time when it was introduced. And then again in 2017, it was formally declared as a new initiative that happened. And that became part of the overarching Belt and Road Initiative. Now, Belt and Road Initiative, we actually have spoken about it multiple times in different conference forums as well. We have a book that Professor Bellamy, Professor Datta, and I've published. So I'm not going to talk about the land and the seaport of the Belt and Road Initiative, but I'm going to talk about part of it, the new wing of it, which is the digital Silk Road. So interestingly, the European economies, other than the UK, among the Western powers and the Eastern Bloc of the European economies, that includes Czech Republic, Serbia, Hungary, and the Baltic economies, they have all signed memorandum of understanding for all these specific digital Silk Road projects with China. So that already happened. And if you look into the DSR, that is the digital Silk Road, you will find that the 16 countries which have already signed, primarily from the European Union, primarily from the Eastern Bloc of the European Union. So it's already happening. The ball is already rolling as well. I'll just move on. I'll talk about what is the strategic driver behind this digital Silk Road initiative. Again, the strategic driver is not something very different. And most of the times you can come back and you can see that's the same thing happening. If I go back in 1946 and I talk about the Spikeman's Rimland map, and here we are going to talk about it, the Eurasia region, as you can see the Eurasia region, the idea is that who controls the Rimland rules Eurasia. Who controls Eurasia controls the destinies of the world. And if we are still not very convinced about it, let's think about the instability that's going on right now in Europe. It's essentially, once again, boiling down to the fact that who controls Eurasia? Is Eurasia controlled by NATO? Is Eurasia controlled by, something pro-Russia thing? Is Eurasia controlled by Russia, China? So that again comes back to Eurasia, which is why I find that 1946 Spikeman's geopolitical map is even so relevant back, even so today, which is 2022. So, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes. Okay. So which is why we are going to talk about the digital Silk Road and see how Eurasia would play a role again here with China and the European Union. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the gravity model from international trade literature. I'm not going to delve into the gravity model because that essentially is not the intention of it, but definitely I'm going to talk about it to some extent. So the gravity model tells you that the larger economies have a higher trade, have larger trade between themselves. And the idea is very simple. As you can see, there is a very simplified equation over here, which is the product of two GDPs is how the trade happens. So the larger the two economies, the GDPs would be higher, of course. That essentially means there will be larger trade between those two countries. However, distance play a role. So distance, if it's farther away from one country to the other, that definitely reduces international trade. That's a more conventional way of thinking about international trade. So you will find that countries like US and Canada, which obviously there is a border, a huge border. So there is a huge trade that happens between US, Canada, and Mexico, and primarily because US is a larger economy. So the product term of the GDPs are going up and the distance is shorter, which is why it enhances the trade between US and Canada, US and Mexico. Now, in case of China, and if I go to China and see the trade between China and the other countries, interestingly, it reveals something of something which is a little paradoxical to the gravity model. Yet, we will see that this is not essentially paradoxical. We will find out just in a bit. So, if I look into the trade, I find that the largest trading partner of China is actually European Union. So why was I saying that's paradoxical? Because I was mentioning that distance play a role. Now, if distance play a role, then China and where the neighboring countries of China, like Vietnam, Cambodia, India, Russia, and the Central Asian economies, these are the countries that should have the largest trading partner, that should become the largest trading partner of China. But that's not the case, essentially. We can see that the case essentially is European Union. So definitely there is an apparent contradiction between the gravity model and the China's trade with the European Union. The contradiction is apparently there, but it's in reality, it's not there, because we are talking about the digital trade, and that is not getting captured when we talk about a more conventional goods and services. Digital trade was not really a huge component of it, essentially, when we talked about the gravity model. So as we can see right away from here, that China itself is the largest trading partner with the European Union. And if I consider European Union, Eastern blocs are not getting the larger trade. The larger trade are going to the Western European countries, the Western European economies. As you can see, the Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, Italy, these are the countries. Italy, it's still a little center probably. Netherlands probably would be a very good example of it. So European Union essentially becoming the largest trading partner of China, that defies the conventional gravity model, because what we are talking about, the digital Silk Road, is something playing a role over here, which is why I'm emphasizing on the digital Silk Road, because that's already playing a role. So let's then talk about, as we have established that European Union and China, then probably it's going through more of a digital trade is happening. What are the channels? What are the equipments? What are the instruments through which it's happening? So I will give you again 3 instruments. So a troika, essentially: communication network, blockchain technology, and artificial intelligence. Communication network, it's really setting the international telecommunication standards altogether. China built telecom technology can lead to potential damaging reliance on technology, particularly that can be subverted to by foreign interests that we all know, and I'll come to that just in a bit. In the long run, if this trend is not curbed or managed, China may garner an overwhelming influence on the setting of international telecommunication standards. Now, China is, when we think about 5G, and we think about, other than the UK, European Union didn't say no to 5G rollout by Huawei. Huawei is that big Chinese giant, so telecom equipment company, multinational, I should say. And the European Union didn't say no. And frankly, the 6G rollout, whenever that will happen back, I would think in 2023, 2024, you will see that China has already invested quite a bit, way higher than the European Union in that regard as well. So European Union can mutually benefit from 5G rollout and 6G rollout. There are security concerns, and the security concerns is something that I'll come next as well. So the first thing here, what I'm going to talk about is that China leads the 6G charge. Again, if you look at the data, 40.3% of the patent application back in 2021, 40.3% came from the Chinese companies. And compare that with China vis-a-vis Europe, it's 8.9%. So it's really paltry if you compare vis-a-vis China. So China's patent applications is 5 times more than the patent applications by Europe. So if there is a trade, a digital trade that is happening between Europe and China, in terms of the international communication network, I think there is a mutual benefit. China definitely is a more digital export-oriented country, so it will benefit, and Europe will benefit as well because 5G rollout, 6G rollout will set a higher international communication standard for them. So one can, but still one can see over here that there can be a one-way traffic, and that can be dangerous, which we will come at some point in time during my presentation today. So which countries have banned Huawei? If I look into the map of which countries banned Huawei, I can see Australia, I can see US, I can see the UK, but I don't see the continental Europe. So continental Europe is fine with that, and that will promote, and that's promoting the digital Silk Road. So that's basically the premise of my presentation today as well, that it's promoting the digital Silk Road, which is what it should be. The security part of it, whether it's subverting the interest or not, that's something that we need to discuss more often than not. So communication network is one of the pillars through which China and the European Union is promoting the digital Silk Road. That's number one. Number two is blockchain technology. Now, when I talk about blockchain technology, which quite a few of you are well aware of the cryptos that are there, and the basic premise of cryptos is blockchain technology. So what is blockchain application? It can set up and enforce smart contracts and agreements and promote cooperation and coordination throughout the value chain, which is above and beyond that ensured by traditional contracts and governance. Blockchain is a very, very transparent method. Frankly, through the blockchain, you can actually connect. There can be very less, apparently there can be very less way of money laundering, something that I'm sure, Professor Graves, I missed your keynote, but you talked about Nigerian port and so on. But the fact in terms of blockchain, that might reduce it, yet blockchain can bring a big caveat as well, as we all know through the cryptos that can again promote something which is not essentially financially well maintained. It allows transparently manage and provide governance for the goods, services, and intellectual property along the digital Silk Road. As I was mentioning, with blockchain applications, you can trace back each and every monetary transaction. There is no way to hide a monetary transaction through the blockchain technology, because entire chain is actually exposed. I'm not going into the computer software part of it, but essentially that's why blockchain is gaining more and more attention in the mainstream. So leave cryptos aside, but more and more in the mainstream is getting attention from the banking, from the financial instruments, simply because of its transparency. Now, China has regulated internally blockchain mining because of the huge energy cost and so on and so forth, and because of the money laundering fear and something like that. But blockchain is still playing a huge role in digital Silk Road, in kind of promoting digital Silk Road. So I talked about communication network through which digital Silk Road is getting promoted to Europe. I talked about blockchain technology through which it's getting promoted to Europe. And the third one, which is going to govern the 21st century's business, is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, if I look into this particular, if I look into this particular diagram over here, it basically starts with a simplified deep learning, which means essentially it's a subset of machine learning that is composed of algorithms that permit software to train itself to perform certain human tasks. That's deep learning. From deep learning, I can go into more of a superset, which is machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence that includes kind of statistical technologies and tools and techniques through which we can actually include deep learning and can find out more information about the reality. And then we go into the strong artificial intelligence, which is any technique that enables computers to mimic human intelligence using logic, which is the rational part, the rationality, the key part of the human intelligence, can be emulated in that way. So that's the third part, and that's the superset of artificial intelligence. And that can play a huge role in data analytics, communications, robotics, security, and efficiency of communications, efficient logistics, especially during this supply chain crisis that we are having right now. Artificial intelligence can play a huge role. So in international business, it's getting integrated more and more. And over the time, I'm sure in the next decade or so, you will find that artificial intelligence artificial intelligence, robotics is playing a huge role in maintaining the supply chain, the global supply chain. So where are all these countries in terms of investing in artificial intelligence? Well, if I look into artificial intelligence types, I can see that the artificial intelligence types are increasing, especially intelligent process automation are going up. And here I can see that there can be a bipolar, again, a global order, which is a bipolar, because US is investing heavily in artificial intelligence. China is investing heavily as well. You can see that Chinese investment is close to $9,933 million, like $9 billion, approximately $9 to $10 billion. And European Union, again, is less than China's investment is 4 times more than European Union. So European Union can benefit through 3 channels, essentially, from the digital Silk Road. The digital Silk Road, which is the digital trade between China and the European Union. It can benefit through 3 channels: communication standard, 5G rollout, 6G rollout, because China is well advanced in terms of, and Huawei is basically the global leading company in terms of the telecom equipment. Through communication standard, it can benefit. It can benefit through blockchain technology, which is China was really the hub of it. And then right now there are all these internal issues that are there. So through blockchain technology, and then through AI investments. These are the 3 pillars through which Europe can benefit from the digital Silk Road, because European investments in these 3 categories are really not much. However, there are challenges. The challenges are essentially that because of COVID and the fact, again, we are not going into the reality of it, whether that's the case or not, because I don't think it's for us to judge here right now. But the perceived reality, of course, is that COVID has something to do with China, and that increased an unfavorable view of China among the European Unions. Among the European Unions, there is an unfavorable view, which is why, as you can see, from 2017 to 2020, you can see that more and more people have unfavorable view of China. I've listed European countries here: Italy, Germany, Netherlands, the UK, Sweden, France, and Spain were included. And 20,000 data points were taken from each of these countries. And there was a primary data survey conducted. And you could see that for all these countries from 2017 to 2020, there has been an increase in the unfavorable view. So that definitely doesn't help the trade, because perception is very important for trade between 2 countries. So that is a big challenge for China, whether it's correct or incorrect, that impact of COVID and the fact that COVID can come up and so on and so forth, the COVID may have generated from China, is something that's not well appreciated. And the second thing is opportunities and challenges that I've talked about. Opportunities are attain the technical ability to stay competitive. That's an opportunity for European economies. It strengthened the interdependence to create an excellent cooperative environment. That's an opportunity for the European economies. It developed international rules for the global internet economy. These are the opportunities in the short term, in the long term. The challenges are the ethnocentric, ethno-national view of China that's there. That can be a challenge. And the security risks that come up with the international communication channels is a huge challenge, simply because Huawei, which is the big Chinese giant telecom equipment provider, there can be a connection between Huawei, which is not well established, but there can be a connection between Huawei and the state operandi. So there can be that risk that can be associated with it. But overall, my assessment would be the digital Silk Road will help European economies to promote 3 things: to facilitate the international communication standards, to increase, to enhance efficiency through blockchain technology, and 3, artificial intelligence. So these are the 3 things with which the digital Silk Road can actually benefit the European economies. And this is what I've mentioned over here as my recommendations. However, a cautious approach is required, simply because, as I was mentioning, security is a big issue, and Chinese state definitely do have some control over the Chinese multinationals. That there is no doubt about whatsoever. I'll end my presentation with that note, and I'll see if there are any questions. Thank you for giving me time. Bye.